Member for Marco City, you want to be recognized?
Nice to add my voice to that.
Very well.
Thank you.
Member for Marco City, privilege.
I'm obliged, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when this matter last came before the House, I indicated my strong shock and confusion as to why this matter was taken up by the court. And I spoke to the Bill of Rights of 1680. Can you hear me? I spoke to, let me start over, Mr. Speaker. When this matter first came before the House some weeks ago, I spoke to the Bill of Rights, and to this being a matter that we in this House should speak to on a non-partisan basis, that this matter goes beyond party lines. This matter speaks to the very integrity and constitution of this House. This speaks to the separation of powers between the three arms of government. It speaks to the foundation of our democracy. And I spoke to it in some firm tones. I can only say, Mr. Speaker, my consternation at this ruling has not lessened that tone. And let me just say for the record and for the persons in our country who are listening to this, that as a leader of a different party, a United Democratic Party, I can nonetheless side with the government on this for the good of this House and for the good of our democracy. Let me make sure that the people of the country understand how clear and obvious the law is on this point, and how, frankly, with the greatest respect, how absolutely wrong this judge is on this point. I have sat as a member of the bar, a loyal, respectful member of the bar for 25 years, and I do not lightly bring my voice in this House to criticize anything happening at the bench or at the bar. But this goes beyond the pale of what can be tolerated. Mr. Speaker, if you look at our Constitution says this in Article 53. Parliament may by law determine the privileges, immunities, and powers of the Senate and House of Assembly and the members thereof. As simple as that. It is a constitutional right for this Parliament, no one else, to determine that. Parliament actually did that. If you go to the Powers and Privileges Act, Mr. Speaker, you go to Section 4, which any judge in this country should be able to read, it says this: no civil or criminal proceedings may be instituted against any senator or member for the words spoken before or written in a report to the Senate or the House, respectively, or a committee, or by reason of any matter or thing so brought by him by petition, bill, or motion, or otherwise. Full stop. Section 4 of the Powers and Privileges Act speaks on a constitutional level by way of Article 53(1) of our Constitution. I mean, nothing could be clearer. You go to the Bill of Rights of 1689, which made it clear from 1689 that no court could direct Parliament or circumscribe what is done in Parliament. Full stop. That has always been a part of our law. And to put it beyond dispute, we added it to our Constitution. We gave Parliament a right to determine what the privileges and immunities of its members are. And then we enacted law to say what those privileges and immunities are. Cannot be inquired into any court of law. We then put in place rules to say, Mr. Speaker, that you control what we do in this House. And if we go beyond what you consider to be proper decorum in this House, you circumscribe us. And you decide when it is that we can speak and we can't. And in that way, the people have the benefit of control and some redress in this House. But for a member of the judiciary to overlook the Constitution and then overlook the Powers and Privileges Act and say that they can come into this House and tell a member, and overlook our Speaker, and tell our members what they can say, that member of the judiciary is saying something else also, you know. That member of the judiciary is saying they can tell our members also what they must say. Because there are two kinds of injunctions in our courts, Mr. Speaker. They are mandatory and prohibitory injunctions. If that judge can say to a member of this House, you may not say that, that judge can order a member of this House to come in here and say this. This is scandalous. Absolutely, absolute nonsense. And you know, I'm usually more measured in my words than this, Mr. Speaker. But this goes to the foundation of our democracy. And I must say, I delayed getting up because I was waiting for someone in this bench representing the FNM to get up. and say something about this. We have to cross party lines on this. We have to. We have to defend our powers and privileges. We may disagree on other things, but we cannot disagree on the core statement that we make laws in this House for the peace, order, and good government of our country, and we do so without fear and without favor of anyone, including the courts. That has to be our position. That is what has been fought for centuries. That's what we built this democracy on. Now, Mr. Speaker, let me just make the point. So again, I do this for the benefit of the people who do not perhaps understand all the law on this. If you believe that someone has said something in this House that offends you or deals with your property, Powers and Privileges Act allows them to say it in this House. Wait till they say it outside the House, and at that point go and sue them under the Data Protection Act. But you do not transgress our very Constitution, the same Constitution the Supreme Court is founded on, by ignoring it all and coming and saying you have the right to tell us what we can and cannot say in here. Mr. Speaker, I said it before and I will say this again. The Supreme Court needs to remember that they have a contempt of court jurisdiction and that we have a contempt of Parliament jurisdiction. We are the ones who are holding the line. We are the ones who are being restrained, intentionally restraining ourselves from exercising that jurisdiction. But we do not want a constitutional crisis in this country. We do not want a war of words or otherwise between this Parliament and the Supreme Court. And so I say move this on to the Court of Appeal as quickly as possible and let more sober minds deal with this and fix this, because this makes absolutely no sense. I do not put, and I put it intentionally this low, and I will put it higher in the future if I have to. I am unable to answer the person in the public who says, why are all of these controversial cases coming before the same judge? I'm unable to answer that. I'm unable to answer the people in the public who say, are certain members of the bar forum shopping before this judge and getting these same rulings? I'm unable to answer that. That should not be an issue that I even have to debate or speak to in this House, because the Supreme Court is supposed to conduct itself with judicial decorum, not to have create a constitutional crisis with the Parliament of this country. And that is exactly what this is doing. The law is clear. The Constitution is clear. This is too clear. And Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage you to please stand firm in protecting the dignity of this House, because by doing that, you are not protecting the individuals who sit here. You are protecting the people who sent them here. You're protecting the country and our right in a representative democracy to speak for the people who sent us here. There are 38 of us in here, but each of us speaks for the constituency that we came from, that sent us here. And collectively, we speak on behalf of the people. That is why the Constitution protects our right to speak. That is why the Constitution gives us the power to regulate our own right to speak. And that's why we enacted the Powers and Privileges Act, to say that we have immunity in this House. Not because we want to protect what a member says, but we want to protect his right to say it on behalf of the people for the furtherance of this democracy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.